Going to call the meeting to order. And approval of the March 16th minutes.
I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion, any errors or omissions? If not, all those in favor of accepting the minutes for the March 16th meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay. One of the things, before we get into Susan's presentation here, I noticed that I don't think I was to write a letter to the town assessors. I was to write a letter to somebody to find out if the tax rate would change.
I thought it was the Conway town assessors. I mean,
The
the
Ossipee.
Ossipee.
Yeah.
The Ossipee
What I
town
did do
assessors.
is I contacted DRA, and I also contacted Land for Good, and I sent out their answers to everybody on the committee. And the bottom line is, since it's not a change of use, both of them said the same thing. Since it's not a change of use, it's irrelevant who's doing the haying. So there was a concern that the property tax may increase because the county was no longer doing the haying, but we're leasing that out.
And that's what Ossipee told you.
No, I didn't go to Ossipee at all. I went to Department of Revenue Administration and the Land for Good, and the Land for Good put me in touch with somebody who's well-versed on current use, and DRA and this other person both said that you're not changing the use. Instead of the county doing the haying now, somebody else is going to be doing the haying, so that wouldn't affect the tax rate at all. Just one-
It wouldn't affect the current use.
It wouldn't
Right.
affect the current use, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Everyone saw this?
That was the email.
That was an attachment to the email that you forwarded?
Yes, I sent out both of them, one from Linda Kennedy to DRA.
Did you see that?
I did.
That's
Yeah.
the one from,
And also,
So that's the New Hampshire RSA that.
yeah, from
Yes.
the
Doesn't say
cooperative
anything about-
extension.
Yeah.
yeah, I looked through the current use RSA, and I couldn't find anything about the question that we had. So I felt I wanted to go to get it from somebody else, since it wasn't clear to me whether if somebody else was doing the haying rather than the owner. And what they both said, it was a Linda Kennedy at DRA, and she brought in somebody else, and they said, no, it doesn't change the tax at all, because it's still, the use is still the same. And then I contacted the Land for Good, and they both said, no, it's the use that's the important thing, and the use isn't changing, so. Okay, that was in the minutes, and I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, Susan, you are on.
Yeah, so, the only thing that I've done with the presentation to change it is to add the pictures of the, features. I mean, where are they from, that 2006 document,
The forestry plan.
the forestry plan? Okay. So, all right, first of all, this is the forest type map. Oh, that's not gonna work. I was hoping to get that copy in the PowerPoint presentation. We could mark up the trails. You can't see a thing. So we're gonna have to do something on the wall.
Okay, because we've got big maps and little maps.
Yeah. Okay, so forget that. So then I think we have 10 of them. This is the remnants of the dam. That's not the best picture, but I tried to improve them as much as I could. This is the rock abutment, so there's probably a bridge there at one time. And I don't know if that's worth, if we want to keep that in there or not, but that's the cable that, is up near where the old ski trails were. And that's the well house complex. Not sure who's been up there, right? And the cell tower. Actually, probably look better on a slideshow.
Do you know who owns the cell tower? Is that leased out to a private company?
I believe it's
The
leased out
sheriff's.
to the sheriff.
The sheriff? Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
but it does generate income.
Okay.
And then frozen over, but that's wetland number 1 near the old dump, that's up not too far from where the milkweed field is, right down to the south of that.
The other side of the leach fields.
And So if I remember right, we have almost like between open water and marsh, almost like 15 acres of wetland.
Okay.
Yeah, this one I'll probably take out because this is 2006, beaver activity. So, it's- not sure if we have anybody living down there now or not, right?
Oh, I'm sure we do.
I would think, but I don't know that. I don't know. Either way,
They
tell
don't
me if you
go
want me
away
to leave it in
easily.
there or
So
not.
somewhere in there was a beaver dam.
Well, there was anyway.
Okay.
And then there, finally, the wetland number 5 is the third larger one, but it's called 5 on the forest type map, if you're looking at that. And then this is a 0.2 acre fire pond that was constructed in, do you know when?
I don't, but that's out behind, the leach fields are behind that, and it's on this side of it. So
Yep.
it's a backup for the structures on the property.
Yep. And so that's what I've added, those pictures, and we won't use that map.
Okay.
Is that stream fed or is that, how is
This
that
pond,
fed?
I don't know.
I believe that was a man-made pond,
Yeah.
and I almost think where it's brushy is
Is the
some
little stream
sort of
coming
a
into it?
water coming in, but I don't know for sure.
Have you been able to determine, looking at the map and the trails, how many miles of trails we have here?
I think we can figure it out pretty close, but we haven't done it yet.
Okay, okay.
It depends on whether you go perimeter or if you make some of those internal loops as to how many miles of trails.
Well, it's just that the map showed broken,
We're talking about the broken lines that are already.
the broken lines.
Right.
And
Existing.
the map was 1 inch equals 200 feet. Is that my memory right there?
The forest type, yeah.
You can just take a rule of that and kind of follow along the trails to see how many, multiply each inch by 200 feet. Is
And there are
this-
a couple of them that wouldn't take much work to connect them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's what Susan wanted to put on an overlay over
Right.
this. so-
Yeah.
And I've got that, I just haven't
Okay,
got it there yet, but it will be for Wednesday,
okay.
promise.
Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome.
All right. Here we are, the New Hampshire Charter Foundation grant application. Well, I hope you've all have had an opportunity to think about going along the format here. How we want to summarize this whole thing and focus on where we want to go. Some of my thoughts on this that I think I sent out to everybody as well is there a unifying theme to our grant application? Or if not, do we need one? Rather than being just going off in 6 or 7 different directions, just trying to kind of bring it together so that someone who has not attended our meetings and listened to the discussion can just see in a few hundred words basically some of the things that we're kind of focusing on and if there's any connection to them at all. But maybe I should start with, I'll pick on you, Dale. What are some of your thoughts on this end?
As far as that topic,
Well, just, no, on this thing.
I think we're gonna have to be pretty broad because we don't know what the uses are gonna be of the property yet. So we're gonna have to be pretty general and broad, not so specific, I don't believe. But I've never written a grant or attempted to write
Me
one
neither.
before, so I don't know the best way to do it. But where we don't have anything specific, I think we need to be pretty general and broad.
Well, the thing is, based on the matrix that Sandy put together, we have narrowed it down into some areas. I mean, and in the discussion, we have eliminated some things as well. So there is, I think there is some focus. I mean,
Well, the only thing we have approved from the commissioner so far is the blueberry fields.
The blueberry fields,
So
yes.
that's it.
Right.
We don't
But-
know if the other ones are gonna be approved or not.
No, we don't, but we have talked about leasing. I mean, that's one of the things that we've talked about, is leasing some of the area out. And we've talked about, not getting specific, but we've talked about possible public-private partnerships on this. We've talked about the recreation and motorized and non-motorized trails, focusing primarily on the non-motorized trails. We've talked about the education center here. And we've talked about, in broader terms, agricultural and forestry use, and how might we develop that. So, in going in the matrix, we have eliminated some things that we just didn't want to get into at all. So, while we haven't had 1, 2, 3, 4, there are 3 or 4 areas there that I think we have kind of reached a consensus that these are what we want to kind of focus on going forward. Have I missed something here?
I thought when it said a unifying theme, that if we said best agricultural uses for the property, would be
Okay.
kind of a unifying theme.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay.
And that stays with our statement. We said that what we want is the best.
Yeah,
So, and that's what we're asking, that's what we're gonna ask the feasibility people to do.
yeah.
Is to come up with what they think is best and whether it'll work, right?
Listen, I have never written a grant, so I'm really, Susan, go ahead.
I have,
Written grants.
well, no, I've not written grants, but I've been involved with another nonprofit, and I hesitate to share their grant with everybody, but I have a copy of it, so I have an idea of, although they
Okay.
weren't looking for a feasibility study, they were looking for an actual project.
Yes, okay.
It was to the tune of $4,600, with them supplying in-kind and a budget of, so $1,400 between their budget and in-kind donations or revenue. But they were very specific about, for example, the financials. They had broken down the income, the grant, the in-kind, and the budgeted money. And then they had 10 expenses detailing the dollar amounts, including a stipend for an educator for 1 year.
Okay.
So they detailed where the $6,000 was going.
Oh,
That's my
okay,
point.
okay. I just want to make sure, so this is for a specific project, and what you did is you itemized each part of that project and what you estimated was going to cost for that,
Correct.
to come up with the $4,600. So the grand total, and looking at this, saying, okay, they need $4,600, and this is a breakdown
Of where they're gonna spend.
of where they're going to spend that $4,600.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Susan, is there an executive summary at the beginning of that application? Is there like an introduction talking about,
Describe the need or opportunity,
okay,
which is the next, our second question. There is no executive.
there's no executive summary?
Yeah.
All right, so you know, very often, if you're writing, it's like when you're writing a term paper, right?
It's
In
been a long
college.
time since I've read.
Well, I know, but you know, you start with some of the meat and potatoes, and then
Yeah.
you summarize it all at the beginning. That's what this executive summary is.
Okay,
Yeah.
And it's often easier to write it after you do the other things.
what other things here now?
It's
The
often
details.
easier to write the summary after you write the details, which is like question number 2, describe the need or opportunity.
Okay,
All right, and so the project description, the timeliness, the results, whatever else. And so that when we get done with that, then we should be able to say something to the tune of, you know, whatever we're calling ourselves, or Carroll County, is looking for the sum of X number of dollars as a grant from the charitable foundation to be matched with other funds, and you give those amounts, for the purpose of funding a feasibility study to ask this question, and then you give the question. That gives it in a nutshell, right up front, so that someone does not have to read everything else if they've got a lot of grant applications to read. You look
Okay.
puzzled.
I'm trying to, so what you're saying is, so it sounds to me like the need really is replacing the executive summary.
No, it doesn't replace it. That's where you go into what your details. You've got 300 words there to describe your need for the project,
Yep.
okay? And then you go into some more about a larger expanded description of the project itself. You know, we'll hire a consulting firm to do the feasibility study.
Mhm.
And they're going to be asked to do thus and such in such and such a time frame.
Mhm.
So would a good answer to the need question be our mission statement?
Well, this committee was tasked with trying to determine what the optimal uses would be.
Yes.
And as a committee, this is my take on it. As a
Yep.
committee, we've gone through all of the items that came up at the listening sessions and said that we can handle some things, and we've decided that we really don't have the expertise and/or time to do the others in as good a job. So we're looking to get somebody else to help us with that other portion.
Mhm.
So that's part of the need, am I correct?
Yeah.
And to make sure we get somebody who's a non-biased.
Yep.
I would step back and say, describe the need. The need is that the delegation no longer wants to be in the farming business.
Yeah.
And, we're looking for a use for this land. There's no interest in selling the land off. And then so describe how we came to be, and then the mission statement.
Mhm.
I don't think you want to put a broad statement like that in it.
Oh, I think this was talking about in the
That's
next section
describing
down.
the need.
The
After
need for the proposed
Right,
work.
exactly. I was going under Sandy's premise that we should leave the executive summary to last.
We write it last. It goes first, but we write it last.
Yeah, and I do
No,
have one, and it's
I
last.
understand that's what you were saying, but her sentence about referring to either the delegation or the commissioners is a lead-off sentence. I don't think that's a good thing.
It may not be.
I think what we should do is the need is that this property is not being utilized to its potential.
Mhm.
And that's what our mission statement is to come up with a plan that will utilize it to the potential for the taxpayers and the people in the county.
Mhm. That's in the mission, that's what the mission statement is.
Which, and I agree with Dale, I think that's the need. The need is to find a use that will meet that mission statement.
But Susan's right too, because we were told that the reason why, another reason why we're finding the optimal use for the land is because the delegation didn't want to be in the farming business anymore.
Okay, but you must realize when you start using political entities,
Mhm.
they are elected every 2 years. So
Yep.
next year the delegation may be totally different. Or, the commissioners may be totally different. So to use those as a part of your reasoning, I don't think is as valid as saying what's here. The land is here, it needs to be used to the best advantage, or whatever the mission statement
optimal
says.
use.
The optimal use. That is a fact, and that isn't going to change. That isn't going to change.
I agree with you.
That's what we're here for, is to come up with that optimal use.
Objectively.
Objectively and without negatively impacting the taxpayers. And by negatively, I mean increasing the tax rate.
I think that's part of the statement. I don't have the statement in front of me, but.
Yeah.
But
To
I-
serve for optimal uses of Carroll County's 894 acres and buildings for the benefit of Carroll County residents and taxpayers.
And so that's the need,
Mhm.
is to find that, because that's not being done now. Or that's what I think.
And yet suggesting and proposing that we not go into a lot of specific detail on that as to the politics or anything.
Right, I don't think
Uh-huh.
that's part of what this should
Okay.
be. It should be
Okay.
totally objective, and I think the people giving out money want to give it to an unbiased.
Mhm. Where does our listening sessions in the matrix that Sandy put together
Well,
come into all of this?
I think that we could, for that needs section, we've got 300 words.
Yep.
That's the limit. And by the way, there's 112 words in this one. I counted them. Well, Office counted it for me. So, you know, we could state succinctly that we held public listening sessions, that we have determined that certain of the broad thematic areas that were on that list, that came out of that, could be developed without additional study. That's the trails.
Mhm.
But some were unquestionably feasible.
Right, some were feasible, and we did not need a further study to determine that. But there were these couple areas that we felt that we needed additional expertise, outside expertise, to assist us. And so we're looking for,
Should we name those? Should those be named, Sandy?
oh yeah, we need to name them.
In
But-
in the grant
Oh,
application?
yeah, you'll need to, I
Yeah.
think.
And that would, just so that we're on the same page, we're talking about the educational facility and also broader range of agricultural opportunities here.
Right.
And the bigger picture is agriculture also includes forestry. It's more than just farm, but the.
Forestry is agriculture.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just want,
Yeah.
we want to make that specifically clear though, I think. Yeah, okay.
And so that's what the need for this work is. You know, the committee was appointed to look for this stuff. We handle some of it ourselves. We need help with other portions.
Mhm. That's the need.
That's the need.
Should maybe we keep it really broad and use just educational opportunities?
I think, don't we want to say though more about, wasn't it agricultural education?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agricultural education.
Yes.
and production agriculture, was that the other broad
Mhm.
area?
Mhm.
I would think that would meet their requirements as to whether they want to invest money in us or not. Those are our interests.
Yeah, well, as I said, I've never written a grant, and I'll defer to somebody who has.
I was just
But
thinking,
we're
if
asking
I
for
was
five
giving out
thousand
my
dollars.
money, what would I want?
Yeah, but if I'm getting a grant and someone says, we need $5,000, the very first question I'm gonna ask is, what do you need the $5,000 for?
Mhm.
And so you've got to define to me, in some specific sense, okay, I'm giving you $5,000, what are you gonna do with it?
Right.
And as we've talked, the two areas that we feel that we really need further exploration and expertise on is the educational facility that we're looking at, and I use facility rather loosely, but and also agricultural production, agriculture using the broad term forestry as well. And so those are the needs. That's what we're asking for the $5,000 for. And
As to be matched with other funding
Yes,
sources.
yes, other fundings. And it could very well be that that's what they mean when they say funding. You know, the other funding, to continue on down that trail, the $5,000 can be matched by the Kendall Foundation, and also be matched by the county's
Right.
$10,000.
And it should say something that it's contingent on
The county's,
the Kendall,
okay, yes.
because I think I'm correct in that the funds are in fact available through the county budget, contingent on getting the matching funds from other
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Correct.
And Kendall is contingent on getting funds from somewhere else,
Right,
I think,
from the Charter Foundation.
from somebody.
Yes, yes.
So we gotta say that they're all contingent.
It's a house of cards.
Right. And in the, once we get back to the executive summary, some of that will get merged back into it, but
How does, okay, I like your verbiage on this, Sandy, describing the need, but now the project description, how does the project description differ from the need that you've
it's
outlined?
expanded,
Okay,
all right?
That would be the feasibility study,
The
right? That's
feasibility
project.
study,
Yeah.
well, what we're gonna be doing is locating, sending out for bids, I would assume.
yes, yeah,
Putting together the RFP,
Yep.
selecting a vendor.
Yep.
To actually go out and do the feasibility study within a given time frame.
yes.
So basically the nuts and bolts of what we want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the project, isn't it?
The RFP, the request for proposal, will get into that kind of specificity that you're talking about here. This is what we specifically ask someone to do. Now we're getting into the nuts and bolts.
Right.
Do we need to put that in the grant?
I don't think we need to in a grant, but in the RFP, we definitely do.
Well,
Definitely in the
yes,
RFP, but you might want to put it in this grant application to some degree. Maybe you don't say 6 months or whatever, but.
Yeah. What they do say here, I don't know if it says it here or not, but somewhere on their website, it says that they would make that determination within 6 weeks.
Yeah, I read about a month, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But that's the Charter Foundation. That's nothing to do with whoever may accept the bid on this.
Correct.
To do the work.
There is a deadline.
Yeah, it's gonna be,
It's 12 months.
to use the funds?
Awards which have not been qualified for and paid within 12 months of the award date revert to the uncommitted balances of the funder.
That's in
Okay.
your grant.
Well,
There was
this
a
is
time.
New Hampshire Charitable Foundation.
Oh,
This is the
okay.
same
Oh,
foundation.
The funds have to be used within 12 months?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, this is 2015, so
Yeah,
that may
yeah.
have changed, but
Yeah.
So could we say that the unifying theme has some phrase using agricultural in it? And then the
Mhm.
two
Sub-themes?
sub-themes, the agricultural education and agricultural production? So,
Those could be sub-themes, yeah.
because we've got the unifying theme.
Yeah.
And then we have these.
Yeah.
And then that's as far as I can go today. I don't know.
Oh, come on, Amanda, you can do more.
But, you know, then we can say that that's what we want the funds for, is to do the feasibility
Yes.
study for both of those
Yeah.
subcategories.
Mhm.
And then, when it comes to the RFP, we'll be more specific, but I don't think they care about our RFP.
I don't think they do.
They just,
But the RFP will outline specifically what we want studied. And to say, and as Susan said, it also gives a timeline. Say that, you know, we want this done within 3 months or 5 months or 6 months, whatever we feel is a realistic time period to do it.
and they should be able to do a financial feasibility at the same time, I would expect.
I would think so.
Well, as I think I sent it to everybody, this was months and months and months ago, talking with that Rose Wilson.
Mhm.
And what she had done is she had sent us just a pro forma, in which she outlined you know, she's studying this and she felt it would take 6 hours and this would be the cost. So she broke down everything. And this was just a format. This wasn't specific to what we're looking for, but giving us an idea.
And that would be an answer to an RFP.
Yes, and she came up with $27,000. But that was not directly tied into what we're looking at and doing here, but she was just throwing something out, this is a sample. And she broke it down item by item in the time involved and in the hours.
And we might need that to do the RFP.
Oh, we
That
probably
same
would.
outline.
Now, and I know I sent this to everybody months ago. I found the RFP for the original committee, and I emailed that to everybody as just a sample. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to use that, because the first committee never went as far as we're going now in determining the areas we want studied. But there is an RFP out there that, again, we could take and make modifications and changes
It
on.
never got issued.
It never got issued, no. It was just,
Okay.
it never went anywhere.
Okay.
But we just accepted it. This is
Yeah,
the first committee, this is what we're gonna be doing.
okay. I mean, obviously, there's a few other sections in here, but, I mean, that's the approach I would take to this.
Okay,
to
well, that
writing a
sounds good to
grant.
me. Now, you've been involved in grant writing up at the
I have not
Kentucky Farmers
written
Co-op.
them, I've not initiated them, but I've worked on them for sure on the financial end of it.
Okay,
And done some wordsmithing, well, actually, for the co-op and then for beginner farmers back years ago.
okay. Well, you and Susan have an expertise at the table here that I don't have at all. So I'm listening to the two of you very carefully. So continue. Okay, we left out the project description, and you
We-
said,
we
in that,
talked-
we have to get far more specific here now.
Well, I'm just
as to-
saying that you've got the opportunity at this point to talk about what the project is in detail.
Okay,
So
okay.
far, we've talked about why,
Yeah,
now we're getting into the what. And then you go on to, from there to the when, which is the timeliness. And we probably want to talk at their point, why we want it done now, and why we're doing it now.
Won't that be part of the beginning summary?
Well,
Why?
remember, all of these things that come out of the rest of the body get summarized in the executive summary.
Okay.
It's like any business report.
mhm.
And then you also, from there, we go, okay, fine, if we get the grant, this is what's gonna happen, and we get the study done, and then we can say what we hope will happen.
That's, yeah, results. If your project or program is successful, what will be different as a result of your work?
Yep. And it's the other that I think isn't that just sort of more
We,
catchphrase? I mean,
The
basic- other things that you
yeah,
might
is there
want to.
anything else you would like us to know about
Yeah.
this request? 300 words or less?
300 words for that.
Yeah, there's not much room in this grant,
Well, that's good.
but it also makes it more difficult because you have to be very economical and succinct with
Yeah,
your
you've got to
words.
choose your words carefully.
Well, I think the first thing to do is get the words down, and
Yeah.
then
Then you
we
can shoot at
We
them.
can edit.
Yeah.
And I told Steve I would hope to get a chance to try taking a gander at this morning, but I didn't.
Okay, let's get back. Okay, so the project description, generally what we do then is we just flesh out the need. The verbiage that we use with the need, we're just fleshing that out and getting a little more specific here as far as the educational learning center, the agricultural, and the broad agricultural production. So now we're fleshing those out in more detail. And they give us 500 words for that, so I think they're expecting us to get a little more.
Steve,
Should we do each one separately?
I would,
250 for each?
oh, no,
You
you
mean
got.
for the
you got-
agricultural learning center and agricultural production? You say the two of them separately, that's what you're talking about?
The need.
Oh, you've got 300 words, so that's a good, maybe a couple paragraphs. But one of the things I was thinking perhaps to make life a little easier for ourselves.
I'm all for making it easier.
Do you remember that report you sent out to the commissioners,
Yes.
the revised one? Did you send that to everybody on the committee?
I don't know if
No, I
did
never
that.
got a revised copy.
Okay, maybe not.
Could we cut and paste from that? Or at least use some of it to start front with?
Let me make a note to myself.
That doesn't express much of a need.
No, but there's various places in there that it's, I mean, I'm with Steve, sometimes it's easier to to edit things than it is to come up with initial words.
Mhm.
Is that for March 2nd? I'm sorry, I'm just looking through some of these. I've got something in HCF grant application that has an executive summary. Is that what you're working on right now?
Yeah, right, yeah, it is. It's,
Yeah, like I
Text
keep it on your
like
phone.
Yes.
I put it on paper and I lose the paper, so I just keep it on my phone.
Excuse me one second.
Steve, do you have the,
Did you have a second copy
Commission
of
statement
that?
right there in front of you?
No.
Yes.
I started, okay.
I don't think so. Wait a minute.
So are we working on the needs now for the agricultural?
Yeah,
Yeah,
For the feasibility study of?
yes.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can't kind of summarize that and get that down there so that Susan isn't just going off in 15 different directions here. See if we can kind of summarize that and move along with each one so that we've got some verbiage that we can now more flesh that out. Okay, the need, okay. Cindy, run by that again. I like the way you were summarizing.
I wish I made notes,
Okay.
because I was talking off the top
Did you
of my
write that
head.
in
I
Yeah,
did all of that. I'll listen to Sandy. If she talks slow enough, I'll get some of it down.
Okay.
Did you get any of it?
No.
Okay.
I started with, this committee was sanctioned by the Carroll County Commissioners and Delegation, and we're charged with finding the optimal use or uses of the Carroll County's 894 acres for the benefit of Carroll County residents and taxpayers.
Okay, so,
That's the unifying theme, right?
yes. And as we started researching, well, do we first need to say something about holding public listening sessions?
Just keep talking. We'll
Okay, just as long as somebody can get it down on paper. 'cause
Yeah,
I
that's
can't
what
talk
Susan's
and
gonna
write
do. Yeah.
at the same time.
I can't write and write at the same
I'm
time, so
with
don't
you,
worry
Sandy,
about
I'm
it.
with you.
So we held public listening sessions to gain public
Input,
input.
yep,
We winnowed, well, we didn't winnow though.
no.
We grouped them
grouped
together
them into
under
five.
several.
We developed a matrix,
Of 5 major thematic areas.
yes. And winnowed those down to 3, to 2. Winnowed those down?
No,
Okay,
no,
okay.
no.
Oh, we still have them.
We've still got them. Some of the areas, at least one, we felt that we could handle on our own.
Just didn't
Did not need a
require.
feasibility study
Yes.
to implement
Yeah.
portions of it.
Yeah,
And 2 topic areas are beyond our expertise and, I guess, just beyond our expertise. To determine need and feasibility.
mhm,
Need, feasibility, and sustainability.
yes.
Wouldn't that all be under feasibility? If it's not sustainable,
Well, something could be technically feasible, but just not economically or sustainable. I mean, you can do something technically, but doesn't mean it's economical. I suppose it depends on how you define feasible.
I guess you're right.
Yeah,
See, I expect feasibility would be the answers to all those questions.
okay.
But you're right, something could be feasible and not, yeah, I understand. I'm not a wordsmith. Give me numbers and I'll play with them, but not words.
Okay, Sandy, you're
So,
on.
I know. What we leave off with?
Which areas are beyond our expertise to determine need and feasibility and sustainability?
Oh, agricultural, education, and production.
Education and agricultural production? Because those
Yeah.
are two separate ones, yeah,
Right, but those were the 2.
Yes.
Agricultural, education,
yeah.
and then production agriculture.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that it includes forestry.
Yes.
But by definition, agriculture,
Sure.
forestry is included.
Yeah.
And the agricultural education would include forestry education.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the need, 300 words,
Got it.
Much
We're on
less.
that.
much less than 300 words.
Are we double spacing? Is that what I did to make it look?
Without me
longer?
having to count them, if I highlight that, is there a way to do like a word count?
Sure, what are you using?
Word.
Go into view, or review. Top bar over on the left-hand side should say word count.
Oh, look at you.
She found it, yep. You were there this morning.
Wait a minute.
It's probably about 100. No, not even 100.
It says pages 1, words 97, characters 509, characters 606. Hmm?
97 words, we'll call it.
What I
100.
highlighted
Okay,
is all it's
all right.
counting?
Yeah, that's all it's
So-
counting.
100?
Yeah. But that's a start.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Now, they
What-
say
what's
describe the need
okay,
or
yeah,
opportunity.
Yeah, what's the need? It says describe the need or opportunity.
That's the why we're looking for it. And then, because we don't have the expertise.
Yeah. That's why we want to do the feasibility, but.
Right.
Underneath it says describe the need or opportunity for the proposed work. What is the need here now? Is the need to search for optimal use or uses of Carroll County's 894 acres of land and buildings for the benefit of Carroll County residents and taxpayers? Is that the need?
No, that was the unifying theme.
Well, that could be part of the, that might be a unifying theme. We should work that into the need section of the grant.
Yeah, that's where I have that.
Good.
Okay.
And,
And what's the opportunity?
well, the opportunity is that the county government has set aside some funds, if we can get them matched, to conduct such a feasibility study, but we need them matched from, by outside entities. Is that correct, Mark?
Basically.
Yeah, that's the opportunity. The other opportunity is that, I don't know how to say this, but it seems to be a good time in the overall social climate. I mean, to explore those uses for expanding agriculture.
Should we use social or economical?
Well, maybe it's economic, I don't know the words to use on that,
Right now, agriculture
is a big thing.
is a big thing. In the Northeast, sustainable agriculture is just such a hard thing to come up with, and because as you've pointed out, 3 days, the grocery stores are empty,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
and so to have an educational facility to help people become sustainable is important.
Mhm.
And in the world we
or
live
to
in,
produce part of the food that could be made available to the residents.
all right, well, I thought we were gonna split them, and I was in the educational part of it,
Okay,
but yes, you're right. For people to be able to produce food that's a major issue that we have for survival.
Can't survive without it.
Not very well, you know. So I think the need to help contribute to that
okay.
knowledge of sustainable
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity to explore alternative uses of the existing agricultural land here on the county farm.
Right, and that is one of the opportunities, is we have so much land.
Yep.
And and it's in all different types. We have wetlands, and we have forestry land, and we have pasture land, and we have agricultural,
Crop
what's the word? Tillable land,
Tillable,
tillable, and hayland.
Mhm.
That's an awful lot of words, I know, I just went over
I have a
500,
question
but-
now. Isn't what you're saying what we want to see if the feasibility, we're all saying that's what we need to do.
And that's what we want the feasibility study to say, either
But isn't that what the feasibility study would say?
Maybe.
maybe,
No, no,
or it
right.
may say
Or
you're all.
maybe not.
Yeah.
That's my
It may say
point.
you're all full of hospitals.
That's
Right, I
right.
might say the
That's
best
right.
use for this land isn't growing anything.
That's right.
So what I'm saying, my point is, what Amanda's saying is, I think what we all want to see happen here.
Well, that's what we wanted to study.
But what you just said about how store shelves are gonna be empty in 3 days, all this stuff is that's what you want the feasibility study to come back and tell you. That we need, yeah, of course this is gonna
No,
work.
I was just explaining why sustainability,
Yes.
sustainable
Yeah.
farming, and sustainable agriculture is now such a big keyword.
Okay.
She was saying the social time was correct,
Yeah.
and I was just
Yeah.
backing
You're
up and
using it,
giving
you're
her,
getting some better verbiage.
yeah, just giving some more argument to her
Yeah.
statement. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I'm just not.
I was just saying what she said.
Well, I know, but I guess I'm just, this whole grant thing is above me. I thought that was an answer we were looking to get back from a feasibility study.
Oh, no, we know that, what we could say is that we know we've got this land, all right, so.
Yeah,
we
but
want
do
the
we know that that's the
feasibility
best
study-
use for it?
We don't.
That's what the
So
feasibility
that's what we
study
want the
will
feasibility
determine.
study to
Yeah.
tell us.
I'm agreeing with you, Dale.
Okay,
That's the question.
The
All right, perfect.
feasibility
Okay.
study, the feasibility study may come back and say, you know what? You have the most wonderful gravel in all of New Hampshire. You should turn the whole thing into a 900-acre gravel bank, and you'll be rich in no time. I mean, it could, theoretically, it could.
You're right.
Except we're not asking to study the gravel soil conditions. Who knows? All right, so do we feel then that we have adequately described the need or opportunity here?
Susan, you got
Is-
some of
is-
that down?
I just had like talking points, so
Yeah.
when you guys were going back to what strategic time for last
Yeah.
night, that opportunity to explore uses of existing
Yeah.
lands, wetlands.
I want to pick up what I thought Sandy said as she went through this. The need or opportunity is a broader term here. The next item, project description, that's when we start to get much more specific. We've talked about agricultural production. Okay, that's a very broad term. What do you mean by agricultural production? But now in the project description, we start to get into more detail as to what we would like studied to see whether agricultural production makes sense at all here. Is that what we're saying?
I
For
think.
the RFP, but not for the grant.
But you do want to say in the description what it is that this money is going to pay for.
Exactly. We-
A feasibility study.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, we want them to give us $5,000. That's what, okay, for what? What are you
Correct.
gonna do with that $5,000? So, we're hopefully describing the need or opportunity. It says need or, it doesn't say need and. And the project description is, okay, now we're getting more specific as to just what we want the feasibility study to do. To explore some of these broader terms to see whether it makes sense at all for us to do it. Am I basically capturing this correctly, Sandy, Susan?
I would think so.
Okay.
Committee, would we issue an RFP, sent out for bid?
Would we want to include that in there as the next step?
Well, we need to let them know that it's going out to a bid situation.
Yeah.
I would think. Consultant hire, or select.
guess we could bring that mission statement back in.
Perhaps,
Say that if we're going to do a feasibility study for agricultural education for the best interests of the taxpayers.
you can often repeat phrases over and over. You know, sort of helps reinforce things.
Under project description, it says,
Mhm.
project including major activities, key people involved in the timetable for the work.
Right.
So what would be the major activities? Would that
Well,
be getting
issuing the
into-
RFP,
One activity.
The feasibility study.
Right.
The feasibility study is the activity.
but
Yeah.
we're not,
Patience, Sandy, please. I've never done this before.
The RFP is gonna be done prior to any of this
Yeah,
money being
yeah.
Correct.
expended, so
Correct.
we can.
all I said was it gets issued. You know,
Yeah.
consultant's gonna be selected, and they're gonna be given X amount of time to write and conduct the feasibility study and, you know, give a
Yeah,
report back to us.
I'm uncomfortable in saying what one of the major activities is to do a feasibility study. I don't, when you talk about the project description, we talked about getting into more specific detail with the educational learning center and with the agricultural production, what we were hoping to get out of that.
Yeah, but that's.
Now all of a sudden, we're talking about a feasibility study.
But wasn't that the feasibility, I thought that was the feasibility study for
That's
the
right.
agricultural production and a feasibility study for agricultural education. The project is the feasibility study.
That's correct.
The study is going to look at agricultural education and agricultural production.
That's my understanding.
Okay, I'm missing
No?
something here.
Okay.
And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm missing this. I mean, the fact that we're sending an application means that we want money for a feasibility study.
Right.
But the question is, what are you gonna be doing with that feasibility study? And we seem to be implying, well, the project here, the goal is to get a feasibility study, but for what purpose? What are you gonna be doing with that?
Okay, but I don't think we need to go into excruciating detail in it, in that description, when we expand that description about what the feasibility study is going to do or contain.
That's the tricky part, because we don't know. I mean, this example I have here was for a particular project. They described the project in detail, what it was
Right.
gonna look like, how big it was, signs, who was gonna be involved. Okay, it was a garden, so they're gonna enrich the soil, they're gonna plow a 25 by 40 plot, they're gonna construct raised beds, they're gonna put up a garden shed. Interpretive signage was gonna be created. Depending on the weather and conditions, we hope to begin by 4/27 and finish by 6/1.
Actually, all right, Susan, yeah, that one was detailed, because that was a specific
Correct.
physical
Yes,
Right.
thing.
that was a project.
And
We don't know the
Steve
details
is,
of their.
well, we don't know, but Steve is correct because I participated in a market research study that the co-op commissioned essentially. And the information that we gave to the consultant talked about how many people they were going to survey, how many companies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The grant application did say things like the consultant will contact at least 50 companies. So there was that specifics in it
Right.
when we were talking about the project in the grant application to fund that study. Okay?
But was that study for a specific thing?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It was, well, no, it was for market research.
So are we overthinking this? I mean, is it as simple as our project is pretty black and white? It's to do a feasibility study, period.
But what it is,
What is it we're studying?
and what's the
They
scope of
they
that
don't
study?
need, that's not, as far, again, I might be wrong.
Yep.
But common sense tells me that, like the one Susan was describing, their project was a garden. So there are different aspects of that garden you need to study. I get that. But our project is a feasibility study, which sets it at a different criteria because the feasibility study is what's doing the studying.
But what are they studying?
We don't know.
Well,
But
In
we're the ones.
We have those 3 topics that we've discussed here. Those 3, that's what we're studying.
well,
Yes.
Two-
That's my interpretation.
Right.
two are gonna be, what we wanna do a feasibility study on, and that's the Education Learning Center
1,
and agricultural production generally.
2.
That's it, that's what we want to
Wasn't there a
study.
3rd one?
No.
No.
Okay,
just those
so
two.
there you go.
Oh, okay, but see, but what I'm saying is, I just named what I want the feasibility study to study.
But
Then
now, how
write that.
far do you want that to go?
That
How
should
deep
be-
do you want it, right?
No, what I'm saying is, now we're getting down into, as you had mentioned, under project description, it says, describe the proposed project. Now we're getting into much more specific. Okay, so if someone says, okay, you want to do an agricultural study, is it just broadly what? But we're saying, no, there are some areas in that, leasing the land. Does that make any economic sense at all? Public-private partnerships, does that make any, but there may be others. But we're asking them to specifically study certain things under agricultural production. The Education Learning Center, and again, we've discussed it, there are specifics that we want studied. And I think in this grant application, we've got to go into some detail as, we want that money for the feasibility study to study this,
And you're right to some degree, yeah.
okay?
Yeah, you're right, you're
Mark,
right.
you had a comment to make.
Well, I think you, and I don't know where it falls in, but we basically are land rich. We have 900 acres.
Yep.
It's under ownership of the county. We have farmland, forests, water and so forth. Of what quality, we don't know. And our feeling is that there's 2 areas that we would like explored. I don't know how far into detail you have to go, but it also has to tie back to is it economically viable? Is this the right place? Do we have the right laboratory to support these things?
Mhm.
I think you should be general more than, we have a resource that few others could ever have. We don't have to pay a mortgage on it, we own it. In Bedford, they have all these small places and the farms you've been to. They're tied to 100 or 200 acres. Some of those conservation plots in towns are 50 acres. We have a vast resource. We don't know how good it is. We know we have it. And if you're going to narrow down to these 2, in light of what's happening in agriculture is king right now and sustainability and so forth, do we have the right laboratory, to make that work? I don't know. But I agree with Dale. I don't think you can really get specific on it. Maybe this first grant is going to narrow you down that you do have the right place and that you do have a community to draw from, to support that. I'm just throwing it out.
Okay. Sandra, you had said I was right and wrong, so.
Well,
How much time do you have for each?
300 words or
we
less.
got 3 words or less. Well, I think he was right in saying that he was trying, if you just say,
I got it.
production agriculture, that's a huge, broad topic. And you could spend $100,000 studying that. We're not gonna have that kind of fun.
Careful. Stop throwing around those numbers.
Well, I'm just
I'm making
threw a
a
number
joke.
around. But we do need to, I think, focus it a little bit. The study that we put out, and I think we need to let the funders know that we're trying to keep it somewhat restricted or narrower focus than super broad brush.
So-
I have a question. If we send out an RFP
Mhm.
that says we want to study agricultural production an agricultural education on the 900 acres of county-owned land,
Mhm.
period. Then won't it be up to the people that respond to tell us what or how they are going to do that?
What the best uses might be?
Or do we have to specifically tell them, no, we want to know if potatoes will grow here?
No, I wouldn't say potatoes or,
But I mean, be that specific.
No, I think you're right. I think we want to leave that as broad as, again, I don't know anything about how feasibility studies are built out, but the more broad we are, the more expensive it could potentially be, I would assume, because they're covering so many more topics.
it's either that or everything becomes much more cursory.
Right.
You know, so we're trying to find that balancing.
But that's for the
point.
RFP, not for the grant.
Exactly. So, you know,
I
that's
know
what I'm
where you're headed,
thinking,
right, yeah.
if we are going to keep the RFP general, then
Right.
we definitely want to keep the grant general. But I'm looking at this, if I had $5,000 that I was going to give to somebody, what kind of a request would I want to look at? And I think if they told me they wanted to do a feasibility study on agriculture and educational, that would be sufficient, I think. I might have a few questions about, adult
Mhm.
education and children or whatever, but if I knew it was a feasibility study, I would expect that all the questions would be answered in the feasibility study.
Mhm. We're asking for specific answers. And these are the questions we want specific answers.
In the feasibility.
Yes, and
Not
I think
in
the
this.
discussion here now is how specific do we want to get?
We don't.
Uh,
I'm with him. I think Amanda's coming around. We want to be, we don't want to be specific at all. I think we want to keep it, best uses of the land. This is what we want to, these are the two topics that we have that we would like to have your $5,000 go towards studying.
And I think.
Don't write that. Let Sandy fix that, but I think that's
Well,
kind
no,
of,
the thing,
The fact that we're focusing on a feasibility study for agriculture, I think puts us in a nice category.
mhm.
yeah.
because that covers everything when it comes to agriculture.
To get specific, like, potatoes or
Yeah.
goats, I just think
No,
that that's
yeah.
too much.
The,
I think that would be too much for the RFP, actually.
Oh, I agree.
And
Although, no, it would be easier if you made it specific, because then you'd only have to study that one thing. It'd be less expensive and not as difficult if you had them one thing to study.
Yeah.
If you have many things to study, that's when it becomes potentially more expensive and more involved.
Well, and that's why if we keep this general, then they're gonna think we need a lot of money, so they ought to give us $5,000.
I'm wondering,
Maybe they'll give us 10.
I'm wondering if in the
I like the way you
project
think, Amanda.
description, we should talk about blending the funds with the county and then the other private funder.
Yeah, I think that was really important that the county came up with some money, right?
Yes.
That
That's
was the
very
whole
important.
key to this, so
Yes.
I think Sandy's right. Maybe we should put that in each,
In the project description,
Section.
anyway,
Shouldn't that be in the overall summary?
it'll go there as
Okay,
well.
perfect.
It'll go there as well.
Do you, maybe,
Should we repeat ourselves,
does
though?
NHCF care that we're gonna have any other money?
They might,
They
they
want
would
some
like
sort
to
of
know
financial.
that their money is going to be leveraged.
Yes,
Or
they also,
leveraging.
they mentioned that they were looking for some sort of a financial statement here. And I couldn't get any specific answer what that financial statement meant. When I said flesh that out, well, it's in there, but I could not find that on their website. Maybe I wasn't looking closely enough.
I
And then,
think it's when you have to get into the portal thingy.
well, that could very well be, and
Yeah.
I was not successful in getting, and the woman, I called the woman, and she says, oh, I'll just make it up on the whole thing. And I said, wait a minute, I'm not coming with making stuff up here. And I said, as I review this, which I had not done at the time, can I call you next week? And she's, well, I'm on vacation.
Well,
So
can
that's
we-
this week, so by Monday she'll be back.
can we show our income our anticipated income and
I-
our anticipated expense. That's very simple. Income, 10,000 from the county, 5,000,
From them, and
and
5,000
5,000 from other grants.
Yes.
Period. And
that's-
then expense, $20,000 feasibility study.
Well, and that, it may be as simple as that, Amanda, I don't know.
And they're the
I-
first domino
I was
in
never-
those other two.
I was never able to get a specific, I love that word
Well,
specific.
actually,
I was never able to really get an
Susan's
answer
got
from
a,
them as to what they were looking
format.
for. When I said, help me out here, what do I, she's just make it up. Well, make up what?
Well,
I don't know.
Well, that's all we're
But yes,
doing is this
yes.
feasibility study.
Yeah,
We have no money to spend on anything
That's-
except the
that's it.
feasibility study.
That's all they're looking for.
Can I just see that for a second?
Your report must also include a budget for the grant period which compares your actual revenue and expenses with what you proposed. Well, that's the report when you're done with the project. But
Mhm.
anyway, that's all they want is
We have
Okay.
10,000,
that.
Okay.
There's no special form, there's no.
Okay,
we have up to $10,000 in hand.
yes,
I mean, I can see that in a pile.
yep,
We've got maybe another 5,000 if we get this grant. And then
Matching
hopefully
fund.
another
And then matching from the
5,000.
Kendall Foundation,
And-
yes.
Well, that $10,000 pile doesn't get piled until we get the other two.
Until we get the
Exactly.
10,
Right.
exactly, exactly.
If we only get a $5,000 grant, then we're only gonna get $5,000 of that
delegation.
money.
Exactly.
And then we only have
Yeah.
$10,000 to do a feasibility.
I could wink at him from here. Think that would help?
No.
No,
Well-
your term up to
Right.
10,000 is
That's
correct.
correct.
Exactly.
As opposed to saying we have 10,000.
Exactly.
So I think when going on, especially because they keep putting all these word numbers on us, that they probably want it short and sweet and to the point.
Yeah, I would, yeah. The less they have to read, the more attention we're gonna, of
Yeah.
theirs, we're going to hold.
And I think Sandy's right, if we keep repeating the main things that are important, or we think are important.
Well, yeah, as long as it's, yeah, we'll just change it a little bit to just
The ideas.
find a way to reinforce it.
So we're on project description now, correct?
Yeah. And.
Do you have anything, or you're just,
Oh, she's been working on it.
Well, not this one.
Yeah.
Feasibility study conducted by a professional service with the assistance of the subcommittee. The study would incorporate the ideas of production ag and agricultural learning center.
And then.
But we're just going around and around
Well,
on how much
we've
detail we
been
want.
using-
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been
Yeah.
using the phrases agricultural education and agricultural production. Should we,
Or production agriculture, the same thing.
should
Yeah,
we
yeah.
maintain those same phrases?
Yes, I think we
Throughout
should,
the whole
for
thing.
consistency, yes. So
Okay.
that if we use it in one thing here, and then use it in another, they'll know, okay, this is what they're
The
talking
same
about.
thing, so.
Yeah, I would think that would make sense.
And the only reason I put agriculture first was because we do agricultural education, so agricultural production has that same flow with it.
Okay.
Should you have something in there for the primary benefit of the Carroll County residents?
We
that's in
did
our
it
mission
in-
statement.
Yeah, the mission
Yeah,
We
statement.
just kept, will we
Yeah,
put that in again?
Yeah.
She's gonna keep reinventing.
Um,
And that's gonna
verbiage.
be, that statement will be in full in the executive summary, correct?
If we can fit
Sandy?
everything, if we can fit everything, it's all, definitely goes in the, need, and then you put as much of it as you can in the summary.
Okay.
Could you write something in the description to the effect that, the funds available from the charitable foundation will leverage funds from another private foundation, and together they, I'm not sure what the word is.
Squeeze out an extra 10 grand from the Carroll County delegation. Sorry.
Rip out of our
Squeeze.
hands.
Right, yeah.
How about we'll activate
We'll activate, that's good, up to,
up to $10,000 donation
right.
from the
right,
county?
I don't
You all
know.
that?
We're still on project description here?
yes, we are.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got a problem. I'm missing something here.
Well, let's wait until we can get to see something in a Right now, we're just talking, so.
Yes.
So it's hard to,
Are you still thinking we
Envision it up
need to be
here?
more specific?
No, I think we get, as I say, but I think we're getting off target here. We're getting back to, not why we need the money, but what the money's going to do. And it says, keep people involved, and what are the major activities? And I just don't, I'm not getting this.
We don't know who's going to do the feasibility study because.
The major activity, the people involved are gonna be the people doing the feasibility study.
I don't think it's got anything to do with the feasibility study. I think what they want to know is, you were asking for $5,000. What are you going to do with that $5,000? And say, well, if you give us that 5, then we get 5 more. I don't care about that. If I were them, I wouldn't say, I don't care about that. What are you going to do with this $5,000?
we're telling them,
We're gonna hire a professional service to provide us with a feasibility study,
and that are-
focusing on agricultural production and agricultural educational center.
Okay, I'm a minority here. I think we're missing the boat completely. That's just my opinion. And I've never written a grant, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but
So
I
what
think.
do you, let me ask you, what do you think we should put in there?
I think what they're looking for is, and I fully understand that if we get too specific, we may, too narrow, we may miss out on things. So I understand that. But it says, describe the proposed project or program, including major activities. Now, I'm not quite sure what they mean by major activities.
That's the feasibility study.
No.
yes, that is the project. It is conducting the feasibility study.
Oh, okay, all right. All right.
It's not digging a garden.
And major activities would be,
The production ag and the
Yeah,
education.
right,
No.
but that, the mission, finding the most,
Yep.
whatever the phrase is, why can't I remember? the
Optimal
mission?
use.
Optimal
Yes.
use of the county lands.
Yes,
Or-
and I understand that. We're traveling the same road here, Amanda. Now we're getting into the project. And to me, the project is not it's,
Well, what is the, all right,
To me,
Steve,
the
what
pro-
is the project?
we are asked, as I said, I'm sitting there and I'm reviewing this grant. And I'm saying, okay, project description. And all I hear talking about is, well, we need $5,000 to do a feasibility study. But you're not telling me anything about what you're studying. Why? What are you gonna be doing with this $5,000? So you're doing a feasibility study. Okay, but what are you studying? What are you doing to do?
We've already stated
The
that.
best use of our land.
Okay,
That is what the project is.
yes, exactly. It's the best use of the lands. And so what would be so that's the major activity then, is to explore and identify the optimal uses for the county lands, the 900 acres. Okay. Who would be the key people involved? Would it be the commissioners, the delegation, the extension? Who would be the people involved?
The
in
people
this?
doing the feasibility study.
The subcommittee.
Subcommittee, working on behalf of the
Okay, all right.
commissioners and the residents of the county.
Okay,
Can I interject here for a second?
yes.
Don't you have to put in the request what you're going to study? Like, give agricultural uses,
Yeah.
trails, etc.
Yeah.
A list of things so they know what you're gonna study.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Isn't that what you're trying to say?
Yeah,
Well,
this one-
we have said
We have.
agricultural production and agricultural education. center.
Okay.
Do you think we should put examples,
To
not
include-
necessarily all inclusive, but examples that
Yeah.
further describe?
Well,
What an educational
I'm
sector is.
picking up on a comment that Sandy made earlier. When we talked about the need, we described in very vague terms, the
Mhm.
educational and agricultural production. And then when we get into project description, if I understood you, Sandy, you said, okay, now we can get a little more specific.
A little more.
Yeah.
What I meant by that
Yeah.
was that we're going to hire a consultant. They're going to go off and do the study, they're going to get back to us and we're going to review it. That's, to me, was part of the description.
Right, and the timetable will set.
Yeah.
You know, we want the feasibility study
Okay.
in 6 months or 3 months or whatever.
Okay, all right.
That's my,
Yeah.
what I would mean.
Okay, okay.
The optimal use of the county, optimal use of the county
Yeah.
lands is the whole question here.
Yes, that's what, I think that's what we're
And the
trying.
first step
what- what
is the
what
feasibility
What is the
study.
optimal use?
And we have
what we're hoping
already-
is that the feasibility study will determine that optimal use, or uses.
In these two areas.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
That's correct.
Right.
There may be
Yeah.
other areas, there were 5 areas, but
Yeah.
the other 3, we don't want at this time to invest all of this money into, that we're going to
Yeah.
invest in this
Yeah.
feasibility
Okay.
study.
All right.
Correct.
I
And
think, am I
I
right?
believe it is possible that someone could say, optimal use of those lands is to turn it into housing. But we've already, just
Oh,
hear me
it
out
could
for a
be, could
second.
be,
No.
yeah.
But we've already determined, I believe, that that does not meet the desires
Of what we were formed
of
to do.
what we were formed to do.
Yeah.
And further, that it was not with, contemplated by any of the county government.
Well, and the listening sessions
The listening
also do
sessions
not
too.
indicate
Yeah,
any
exactly,
interest at all
exactly.
for that.
And in fact, in the listening sessions, there
They
was.
said there's very strong
there
doubts.
was put in a put the land in a conservation easement
Yeah.
to prevent that very
Yeah.
kind of residential or commercial
I'm
development.
just saying that someone
So,
reads the
yeah.
phrase.
Yep. Okay, all right. So can we move on to?
Well, let's wait until we see what we
Thoroughly
got for it.
confuse you, Susan, on where we're going with this project
It
description.
needs work.
What's the next one?
Timeliness, why is this a strategic time for the foundation to invest in this work?
Steve, can I interrupt for just 1 second?
Sure, go ahead.
Shouldn't we finish project description before we move
I
on to
thought
the
we
other
had.
one?
I thought we
Because
had.
we have to be done today with this, right?
Yeah, I thought
Okay.
we had.
Well, I don't,
I don't consider any of these answered the way we wanted them answered yet.
No.
I mean, I've got,
This is a
Okay.
rough
right,
draft.
so shouldn't, I mean, we've got, are we gonna bring in dinner? Because I'm big and I need food.
35
But,
minutes.
yeah, we've got not a lot of time, and we've got a lot to do. So should we focus on each topic to get it done before we move on to the next topic?
Let me ask the committee a question here. And I think I discussed this earlier. I don't see us getting this thing done by 5 o'clock. Could this committee meet sometime next week? And if we have a rough outline on this from Susan, we can now take a look at it and maybe get us some wordsmith and so forth and finalize it. So would it be possible for this committee to to meet a day next week?
I think Monday's out.
Monday's out, okay.
Oh, yeah.
And Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, you're gonna be in Concord.
Hey, I'll be there Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay,
How early Tuesday do you go?
We'll have to be there for 9 o'clock, ready to go. So I have to leave by 7:30 or so.
how does Thursday sound?
When's the deadline?
Friday.
Friday.
Friday, next Friday is the deadline.
And we have to do it,
And
enter it
it's-
online.
Right, and it's gotta be online.
See,
So
that's-
what I was thinking is,
Well,
the
let me
time
just
frame,
check.
as I say, if Susan, and we're throwing an awful lot at Susan and asking her to kind of filter a lot of this, but if she could send us just a rough draft that we could then take a look at, and as I say, wordsmith it more, and so that if we could meet next Thursday, now we've got something, we've all got our ideas, and we can finalize it right then and there,
I can meet next Thursday, the 29th, yes.
okay?
Is this something that, does everybody have Adobe? Is this something I can share? Is that okay? And then we can, when we meet.
Can you
read
send it to me in Word or something?
Yeah, can you send it to me in Word too?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
just don't change anything.
What do you got over there on the farm, Dale?
Can you just write a letter and mail it to
Carrier pigeon?
me? Isn't it Adobe something you live in? I don't know.
I'll see that Dale gets the copy. But as I say, I just don't want us to feel that, my God, it's 7 o'clock and we still haven't finished it.
Well, that's where I was worried we were
Yeah,
headed
no,
here.
we're not good. That's why I say, if we can meet next, we'll continue to work till 5 or 5:30, but I
Whoa,
just
whoa,
think if. We'll send out for subs or something.
No.
Okay, so we can meet next Thursday?
Sure.
What time?
Well, that's my next question. Do we have to meet at 3 in the
8:30?
afternoon? Can we do it in the morning, say 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock? What? No?
You got farmers with chores.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, what time do you wrap up your chores in the morning?
I could do 9:30, 10.
Okay. What about you, Mandy?
Oh, I'm good, I just get up earlier.
Okay, so would 10 o'clock work on Thursday?
I think I can reschedule something, that'll work.
Okay, what about you, Susan? Okay,
Mark?
Mark is gonna be in
Don't worry
contact.
about Mark. I'll be here.
10 o'clock on Thursday.
okay. What's that, the 29th?
29th?
29.
29th.
The day after, we'll know that day whether we or to go on trails or not,
Right?
possibly.
And that's 10 a.m., okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue. All right.
What do they say under timeliness, Steve?
Timeliness?
Mhm.
Why is this a strategic time for the foundation to invest in this work? And by foundation, I'm going on the basis they mean the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation.
Correct.
So why is this a strategic time for the foundation to invest in this work?
And you think it's them and not us, okay?
I think it is them, yeah, because they're the ones giving the money, so
Yeah.
we've got to sell them on this.
Because, I'll throw my hat in the ring on
Go
this
ahead,
one.
Go ahead.
Give Sandy a break. Something to the effect of, the delegation and commissioners have put together a subcommittee to, again, find our best usage, and the subcommittee is in place to recommend to the commissioners and to the delegation what these best uses are. And while we have the committee, this would be the best time because this is what we're doing. Something, are you following me?
Yeah, the
Mhm.
commissioners and the delegation jointly support.
Sure, see, you guys are good.
Subcommittee.
You guys need to word it out. I'll throw it out there. Sandy and I, and Susan, and Steve, you guys word it out.
Well, to me, that's important.
Yeah, I mean-
And if anyone's familiar, that, the fact that.
Because
you have
we're
the
here doing it
commissioners and the-
now.
Supporting a subcommittee,
Right.
period. Not necessarily anything we've said or done, but
Well, no,
they support this committee.
right, exactly.
Is that right, Mark?
And as a county, we're at the stage of reevaluating our usage of the agricultural land.
Well, that's the reason why they have a lands advisory committee.
That's right.
Right.
That's why it's strategic to do this study now.
Isn't there-
Exactly.
If that's for us, that's why it's strategic for us.
But isn't there a statewide, regional-wide push for
Sure.
agriculture now?
Yeah, we're learning about them all the time with the
Yeah.
different counties and stuff. We're learning about their, what's the word I'm looking for?
It's my understanding the new state head of the
Commissioner
Department of
Commissioner of Agriculture.
Agriculture is very interested in what's currently going on in the agricultural community, that he's been attending a lot of the meetings.
I'll be seeing him tomorrow.
So, it's a good environment.
Well, I think to pick up on what Dale said, I think, it's strategic at this time because both levels of county government, both the commissions and the delegation support this, that they themselves feel the time is right. And as Mark had said, this November, the dynamics could change dramatically, and there may not be that support for it. Who knows? It's unlikely.
There will always be the support. The statement I don't want to see in here is a statement that I find in this document that says, if the land remains idle, the county may sell the land in the future. I don't want any mention.
What document
I
is
saw
that?
that too, where was that?
This is in my March 2nd grant application, executive summary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's important, because you're gonna, there's never been that statement. So you can talk about the importance and everything else, but I don't want us to say to any of these foundations, or that it goes into the press, that this is, you know.
I don't think you can
Timely.
put negative statements into an application.
Okay.
I mean, that
All
is
right.
just
Okay.
cutting your own throat.
Okay.
You know, I think if it's not a positive statement, it shouldn't be said.
So, you know, why should they invest right now? This is the commissioner's second run at a committee or whatever this is, land use advisory. There's something you're working on before, and this group is focused on the mission. So, I mean, the timeliness is right.
Mhm.
If we don't get the funding this time, who's to say that you'll keep this group together, or you'll keep the support together? So,
Well, and as you said, Mark, we have this rich resource, and we're trying to figure out what would be the best use for it.
And you know, the other thing is historically, it's been a benefit to the community, to the county.
Mhm.
And in recent years, since 1900, it's had less and less and less impact on the community. So, you know, I think there's a reevaluation throughout the entire country, I think, about agriculture. And, you know, around here in the early 1900s, everybody went to the city, and you know, how many farms just were left vacant.
Yep.
And now there's a resurgent interest in that. And a lot of people are buying up these old farms that have grown up into pine forests that have been cut, and now they're trying to rejuvenate the farms. So I think the movement of the community, when I say community, I mean the county, the state, is such that we would get a lot of support.
The growth in agriculture in New Hampshire is pretty good. Throughout the country it is, but there's a lot more in some cases here in New Hampshire.
My mother would just say, because I said so. So this is way better than that.
yeah.
Could we just simply say because we say so?
It worked for her for
Yeah,
47 years.
I don't think that's gonna
We's
quite
a
cut
big
it.
word. We's
Yeah.
a big word.
Did you get that, Susan?
Not the because I said so part.
I'll leave that out.
Yeah.
Should I forward this video to the?
To Mom.
Yeah.
She'd be proud.
Okay, have we handled that
This-
sufficiently?
this
They only want 150 words on that
Right.
one.
This charitable foundation,
Yeah.
do you have a list of other things that they've donated money to?
You go on their website, they have,
Other,
over the years.
Yeah.
are there any agricultural based?
Now, that I don't know. I'm not saying there aren't, that I don't know.
Because it would be nice to be able to say this would be a beginning for you to invest in the agricultural environment.
Yeah. That I don't
Yeah,
know.
they probably have. I just can't
Well, they-
list anything
Well,
right
did
here.
they
They
accept
got
that
some-
one?
We got that
Yeah,
grant for
yeah,
that.
you got a grant from them.
Educational grant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything in the matching funds verbiage, not wordage, that's bad, verbiage that says it has to come from these two grant resources? Or can the money come from any grant resource, or any resource?
Any resource.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It just has to be matching.
Yeah, okay.
Regardless of where we get the money,
Right, okay,
it has to be on the table.
You
before-
could donate the money, that would be considered matching.
right, yep. That'll give me $4 out of the delegation.
Okay. Anything more on timeliness?
I don't think so.
Okay, results. If your project/program is successful, what will be different as a result of your work? Does that get back to the mission statement? Optimal use of the county lands for the benefit of Carroll
We should
County
come up with
residents.
something different.
Yeah,
I
but
think.
that's
Yeah, you're
what
right.
we want.
That's
That's
what
what
I
we hope
wrote.
to get out of it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
The question is again?
If your project/program is successful, what will be different as a result of your work? And they want 150 words, so.
So if we get the feasibility study, what will
Yeah.
be different? We will have answers.
Yep.
We will have answers to our many
To
questions.
guide us.
That would be totally different to have some positive research-backed guidance, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, because I say something is a good idea, or Mark says something's a good idea, that's all well and good, but having someone to say, here's the research, and as a result of that, we
Mhm.
believe this.
Now, I have a,
Positive guidance, I guess.
I have a
is the word.
question. And I guess maybe it concerns the life of this group right here. We get the feasibility study, making an assumption. We get the funding by hook or by crook. We get a feasibility study completed. We make the look at it. Do we then write a report extrapolating from that to the commissioners, the delegation? Or do we just turn it over to somebody and then say, goodbye, nice knowing you?
I'll answer that one. In my opinion, no, because we have so many other things in your matrix that we need to go through that aren't gonna be studied in the feasibility study.
Okay,
That's my opinion.
good.
We welcome yours.
I don't know, I just.
What is the life of this committee?
Well,
This
that's-
is an ad hoc committee to, I don't know the whole phrase, but it's an ad hoc committee for, I don't know if it's to establish a feasibility study or to complete a feasibility study. It was a motion made and seconded and passed by the commissioners.
Mhm. When this committee's work is done, and by that I
Oh,
mean.
no.
Well, what she's saying is we're done as we do a feasibility study, from what
But-
Amanda's sort of
but-
saying.
But I think that because it's an ad hoc committee, it can be extended by the commissioners. What I anticipate happening, now don't hold me to it, but this is what I anticipate. Every time I come up with an idea and give it to a group of people, and they agree that it's a good idea, they usually say, okay, go ahead and do it. So I would expect that when Susan and the Trails Committee does their presentation, if the commissioners think it's a good idea, they're going to vote to do it, and then they're going to say, Susan, would you like to, you know, you and your committee, would you like to go ahead and work on this? That's my anticipation. I may be wrong, but that seems to be human nature as far as I've been aware, that if you come up with a good idea, then it's, if people agree, they hand it back to you to do the work. Does that make sense?
I guess so, yeah.
Well,
I'm not disagreeing with you. But as Dale said, and it's true, that while there are two projects that we have identified that we want to include in the feasibility study, as Dale said, there's at least one other project as well, and that's the conservation easements. And we made the decision that we could do that ourselves. So at some point in time, whether it's from this committee or from the feasibility study, it's going to be presented to the commissioners and saying, this is the result of our work, not only our work, but the work of others as well, namely the people that did the feasibility study. Now, would you be expecting this committee then to, giving you the results of the feasibility study, for this committee to make recommendations on that, or is that going to be up to the commissioners to make those recommendations? Or to approve it? Because the feasibility study may include different things. I mean, I don't think they're gonna just give you, say, okay, of all the
Right.
statements, this is the only option we think you have.
I would expect that the commissioners would depend, or at least look at quite well,
Mhm.
the recommendation of the committee.
Yeah.
And I would then expect, before they went to act upon it, it would go to the delegation, especially if there was any funds involved
Mhm.
or any any leasing, anything like that, has to go through the delegation. So I would like to, I personally would like to see it continue as a joint project.
You mean the commissioners and the delegation? Okay. That would certainly be my hope as well.
That would be,
Yeah.
but I have no, I am not clairvoyant, I can't read minds. I've been trying, but it just isn't working. So, I
Well,
would
if
say
you're able
that,
to figure that out, let me know, will you? All right.
we'll see, we'll probably get a sense maybe when, after the Trails Committee does their report and see what
Yep, yep.
the procedure is from there.
So, to get back to this grant application.
Yeah,
The
results.
result of this,
Yeah.
if we get the funding to do this, is that we will have a feasibility study to guide the future use of the county lands.
Yep.
And this committee, I would think, would be evaluating and making recommendations to the commissioners, or making a presentation to the county government. Yeah, that's the result, isn't it? What else? What other result will we have?
Just having the guidance, you know,
Yeah.
the guidance to help form a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to, because I don't think a lot of this, I don't think it can be completed tomorrow. I think it's something that's going to take a plan.
Mhm,
Right.
Time.
So, they like something a little lofty, typically.
Sorry.
So how
Yeah,
about,
just a
how about somewhere in there, and it can be smithed out. Fallow lands may return to production. Our community will connect once again to the land, reestablishing an educational component, reinforcing our agricultural resource, with an eye to the future. or
I
something
like that.
Oh,
I like that. I like
That was
that.
good, Mark.
Yeah,
Just something in that area.
yeah,
Feature
no,
writing
I like
for
that.
it?
Yeah, can you give that to Susan?
Put a new piece of paper, I'll clean it up. But
No,
I
I like
think
it.
you
Yes.
have, you have a product, you have lands that were productive.
Yep.
You had a poor farm, you had people showing up here, and people worked, and you had fields and so forth. But that's been lost. People don't know how to get back there, they want to get back there. So you have the land, you have an educational component that are going to teach, and I'll clean it up.
Okay, I like that, I like that. That's the results.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what I was trying to say earlier.
And you've done good, Dale.
Actually, we're going to try to make our future stronger than our past,
Oh, yeah.
You know, this,
with the same
yeah,
components.
as I've mentioned in conversations here, this is obviously an area that I have great interest. And as I go on the internet and read articles and take a look at what we're trying to do here in Carroll County, but we're part of a global situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens out there in areas that we can't control or really understand will impact us. As Amanda said, we lose food for 3 days, the shelves are empty. Now, that wasn't because of a failure on our part, but there was a breakdown somewhere in the system that caused those shelves to empty out.
Yeah.
And
Snowstorm.
and yesterday, I was reading, I'm very intrigued with China. China is a growing world power here. And in 2002, 2003, China now consumes more grain and so forth than we do in the United States. In spite of a higher standard of living and so forth, they consume more grain than we do. They now import more oil, they use more oil than we do. So they are gobbling up the world's resources. And if at some point in time, China decides, well, we need those resources, and we are willing to pay more for them than the United States is willing to pay for them, then they'll get them. That's the way the thing works. So we will be impacted and affected by things that we just don't control at all. And we need to start to understand that. And as we joke, but it's true, you know, we go for a few days without food, we got a problem. That's the basis that we all need. And so, as others have said and written and talked about, how do we basically begin to bring food, agriculture back into the community so that we've got some sustainability and resilience on that?
It's called food security.
It's called food security. And the county lands here, this is as I and others have talked, it is an incredible asset. And can we begin to use that as a nucleus to basically, to give us some sort of a food security here? I don't know. But that's something that has been certainly in the back of my mind. I'm not gonna stand up and down to the local radio station or write articles to the paper about that. But I think when we look at agriculture locally, and it is locally, we cannot lose sight of the fact that it's part of something much bigger than we are here. And I think, I think that Mark has kind of hit on that theme, saying it is a part of our history, it is a part of our culture, and we need to get back and take a look at that. And I think he's worded it very well. That's a good summation.
And anyone that has bought any produce from a farmer's market will tell you the taste rewards and are incredible. And there are people that would like to be able to do that in their own backyard.
Mm-hmm.
One of the fastest growing agricultural areas in the whole state are these little backyard chickens. They you go anywhere now and you can buy this backyard chicken house
Yeah.
that holds 5 or 6 chickens.
It's on wheels, you can move it around.
Right. And all the towns that it had zoning against livestock now are making
Yeah.
exceptions for chickens.
Yeah.
So people can have fresh eggs and, you know, I think that's just the beginning.
And they're also setting up poultry rescue shelters.
Poultry rescue?
Yeah.
Want to get out of the egg business?
For
Because
the people who buy those 5 or 6 chickens and don't have a clue what it involves, which makes the educational aspect of it that much more
Oh,
important.
definitely.
And so then they go and they turn them loose, or sometimes, I mean, sometimes you take a walk out in the woods and there'll be a poor chicken half, you know, with a string to a branch or something, you know, those.
Don't you eat those things?
Wrong kind.
Or you could, but they're kind of stringy.
Well, not as long as you cook them enough.
All right.
Can I say one thing to
Sure.
sort of echo what you said? I'll speak for myself on this one, but Wednesday night, I was at a function for another organization, and the turnout, and we were all, most of us there were growers and producers.
Mm-hmm.
And the
And
turnout,
younger.
yeah, I was kind of headed there. They had a roundtable discussion with 2 of the major farms. One is
Moulton Farm.
Is that in the county?
Yeah, it's in
And then
Madison.
there's another one that's very
Yeah.
close to the county.
Yeah.
But the younger than myself, and the upswing, it's like a grassroots
Ground
revival
Yeah.
of local agriculture is heading in such a direction that the sustainable, I'm really, in another 5 years, I'm gonna be able, or 3 years, I'm gonna say not even worried about it for locally. Because if you're hungry, you're gonna be able to find food and good quality food somewhere, close by. It's amazing. I thought I was a minority
Uh-huh.
in what I was doing, and I'm not anymore. There's a huge upswing in what Amanda and Sandy and I are doing. And Mark, as a tree farmer, he's in that now. So, yeah. So,
Emerging.
what we're doing, what you're worried about, which is a valid worry, a valid concern, you can sort of sleep at night, because you're going to be able to find food if you're hungry.
There you go.
And if we keep going with that, and both of these aspects are huge, the educational and the production, they go hand in hand, And it's gonna do nothing but strengthen local.
Let me ask you a question. Is there a role for the county farm and lands to play in that?
Of course there is.
Okay, what do you see that
Without
role is?
question,
That's what without the feasibility
everything we,
study. What-
well, I don't wanna get too far off topic, but
Okay, no, go ahead.
yes,
Are you done?
there's so much opportunity with the land we have here to help grow that. And it could be a central location as well to disperse food
Mhm.
potentially down the
So it
road.
becomes that food hub that Andy Kendall always talked about.
There's gonna be a need for it.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
and you say that, at that function, it was brought up that if we could, not specifically to here, but there needs to be a centralized
Okay,
food hub to disperse.
yeah.
Because people that are interested in all these quality products
Mhm.
are driving farm to farm to farm to farm, which isn't economically
Yeah.
strong. But if they could go to one place to get all these things, A, it would be easier, more economical, and they would be able to get more because they're not going farm to farm to farm, and they could spend their money on the product instead of getting the product.
Or if there's, either they go to one location or it gets delivered to them.
Right, exactly.
This was they're essentially a food truck.
Yeah, that's what she does.
Yeah, that's what they do. They wonderful food. And they did the catering for the food at this event Wednesday night. All of the 95% of the ingredients were grown in Carroll County. And the owner of that business made a plea at the end of the presentation, the roundtable, to have a centralized location. Because as Dale says, she also picks it up at the farmer's market,
Right.
but that's okay. But, you know, have a centralized location where she can go and get stuff rather than travel all around.
Let me ask the two of you another question here. Since you're at these functions and talking with farmers, and I'm not making any assumption, but I don't imagine how many people are at this? Are these just people who are further along?
No,
Are there
there was
other
about
people out there?
60.
60?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good
And
number.
they're at each end of the spectrum.
Okay,
It was about 50-50 between the
Okay.
growers, by growers I mean the farmers, protein as well as crops, and then the eaters.
as they begin to think about a centralized location and so forth and distribution, is it too early, or are some of them at a point where they'd be willing to sit down and work together to work together to make this happen?
Steve, this was the inaugural, well, it's our first annual meeting for a new organization that formed within the last 2 years called the Mount Washington Valley Eaters and Growers.
Okay,
It's a nonprofit, or at least a state nonprofit. It's a marketing promotion type
mm-hmm,
organization to push local food on, to advertise it, promote it to restaurants, to retailers,
mm-hmm.
And to get the end consumers, the eaters, to go out and keep asking for it. So that particular organization in and of itself, at least at this stage, is not set up to organize a central distribution point,
Okay,
but a year or two down the road, who knows?
it might be.
Right. Right. The founding board members, there's a number of them, but many of them are young farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Looking for markets.
Well, some of them are doing mostly wholesale, to restaurants,
Mhm.
but they also have some direct
CSOs, yeah.
CSAs or direct to end consumers.
Let me ask you a question, Sandy.
Mhm.
And I know, as I say, you say it's very in the embryonic stage, you're just getting
Yeah.
going. So this may be something that's down the road for them. But again, thinking of the county's resources, I mean, we've got a kitchen over there in that empty building that could be used as a commercial kitchen. Have any of
So
them?
does Remington Fine.
Oh, okay. Does Remington have the facility on that same scale of this kitchen? Okay.
Their kitchen isn't anywhere near that big.
Well, they produce those multi-person meals up there.
Oh, okay, I'm just thinking of the kitchen I was in over there, which was not that
There's
big.
one in the basement.
Oh, there was one in the
Yeah,
basement,
they have
okay.
So I've been told they have
Okay.
a
Big one?
facility, yes.
I was told that at Farm Bureau meeting last night, they're looking for people. It's a commercial kitchen that's, okay, it's authorized by the state. So
And they're looking for people to help rent it?
they would like to rent it, yes.
They would need to advertise that then.
Well, I think this is something that just came
Mhm.
about. They brought it to the Farm Bureau meeting last night.
Okay.
But you're exactly right, that resource would be huge,
Mhm.
here.
Yeah, yeah.
It would be great to see if something could be done with that kitchen.
Yeah, you've been over to the kitchen. We
Oh,
were over there
yeah.
a month back. That's a big kitchen. And verbally, it's already gotten the state seal of approval.
I know. It's a nice kitchen. I was in there about 5 years ago and,
It's better now, because they do a lot of upgrades.
yeah.
All right, we going back to this now?
Oh.
Yes.
Did we just take
Are
a
we
break?
done with it?
No.
Oh, we
I
done?
think, yeah, okay. Susan, why don't you give us a quick update before we go as to just whether you've been able to get any sense at all? as
I've
to
got
how
a
really-
lot of notes, but it's pretty rough.
Okay.
I'll take Mark's, and why don't I just try to neaten this up some,
Could you
and then
give-
I'll send it out over the weekend.
Okay, that's great.
And then-
Give us time to take a look
Yep.
at it and additional thoughts. Okay, and we'll meet here on Thursday, the 29th at 10 a.m.
Susan, if I make changes, edit in Word, track changes?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
Yeah, I know how.
I've got mine in red, you can just change the color of the font, and you can just do strike out anything.
Well, yeah, it's just you track the change, it shows you the old and then the new. Yeah.
And that covers everything that's on the Charitable Foundation, the executives. We never did discuss the executive summary. Remember that we were doing that at the end.
I
Let
think
me
between
finish these.
Susan and I, we can
Okay,
get a
okay.
gander at it.
Okay, why don't the two of you will work together on this?
Well, and I think a lot of what Mark was saying.
Will help go in there
Will
too.
help go in there.
Mm.
Although he's written way too many words, I can tell already. He's gone way over his.
Well, a letter takes me 2 hours, so so you can imagine how much time it takes me dealing with this county.
And like I told you before, I'm a mathematician. Give me numbers, I'll play with them all day. Give me words and oh, jeez. It's a nightmare.
Is there anything else?
We need to submit this
Thank you.
document or this request. We need to use their grant portal.
Yes,
Does somebody have access to it?
I don't at this moment.
I'm sure I have access to it.
You have access?
I'm sure I don't
Okay,
think there's any
because
problem.
between Thursday and Friday, we've got to designate somebody who can do this, basically send it along. You'd be willing to do that,
Yeah.
Susan? Okay, so basically what we do Thursday is we finalize this thing, and basically then just turn it over to Susan, and she's gonna zip it along.
You updated you did something with the charitable foundation, updated the credentials or,
Ken said that that the county was already registered.
okay.
So he went in and he basically reviewed that, and as far as I'm concerned, Ken says we're all set. We are registered.
We just need to go and find out what the user
Yes,
ID is
yes.
and all of that good stuff.
Yes.
Sandy's
Yeah.
got, or Susan's got that.
Yeah.
Oh, Susan's got what now? I just want to be sure.
All the stuff to get it into the portal.
Okay.
And to get it pushed along the right way.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Or she knows where to get it.
Yeah. But we,
Yep.
but I've been led to believe that the county is registered down there, so we're all set. Okay. If you find out that's not the case, let me know, and I'll get the Canon, just to get that password or whatever it is we need. But we are all set. Let me give, you need this back, Sandy?
No, I can print it off again.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else? If not, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I make a motion we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Covered a lot of ground.